Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome! Today I continue running through the features that we could see coming to the PU this year. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you guys so much for the support. It is truly appreciated. Also, if you do enjoy my content, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. So welcome back to my run through of all the potential features, tech and systems that we could see coming in this year. 2022 is looking like it's going to be quite the year, with many things coming to a close in both 2021 as well as much more finishing in 2022. Now today I will be looking at all of the environmental and locational features possibly coming next year. I will break down each feature briefly and discuss what they are, how they affect the PU and what to expect from them. As this is part 2, part 1 is already out and available, and in this series I have organised them into various categories like tech, ships and ship features, environments and so on. Now of course I highly doubt that all of these features will come this year, but I am certain that many of them will, and based on the progress tracker, the release view and what CIG have spoken about, we will see most definitely many of these features, but knowing for sure which ones we will and which ones we won't is not easy, so do take that into consideration. But with that said, let's get to it. So part 1 focused on general features. In part 2 we're going to take a look at everything that's going on for environments and locations, kicking off with probably the biggest ticket item, which is the Pyro system. Now if, and it's a pretty big if, all goes well with server meshing this year, CIG are aiming to get server meshing implemented, or the static server meshing implemented, for around Q3, Q4. Then Pyro will either come along at the same time or shortly after. So this is pretty much riding on the implementation of server meshing, but 2022 could be the year that we finally leave the Stanton system and spread our spaceship wings. As we saw at CitizenCon, Pyro is looking pretty damn incredible and should have plenty to keep us entertained. Whenever it does arrive, it does mark that new milestone of being a 4.0 milestone and paving the way to all of the other systems of the verse. So fingers are firmly crossed, all goes well, but I am still a little skeptical that we will get it this year. Talking of Pyro, during CitizenCon we also got to see a lot of the work that is happening for the various space stations of this new lawless system. Pyro will be somewhat littered with various space stations in varying degrees of disarray, with many of them being occupied by some of the outlaw groups found in Pyro. Now these stations will be ran and operated by the gangs of Pyro, and keeping good faith with them may be enough to allow you access inside, but of course if you were to cause some problems with them, then you may find yourself stuck inside having to fight your way out. Now of course these locations in Pyro will be very exciting to explore and checking them out, but what interests me more are the Derelict space stations. Unfortunately, we no longer have the Derelict space station cards on the progress tracker or release view. They were there a long while ago, but I do get the feeling that these space stations that are found in Pyro may be a stepping stone to the fully derelict space stations. Not to mention many of them in Pyro will probably feel somewhat derelict anyway, but these are a great new addition that will not only create a location to discover and explore, but also provide endless gameplay opportunities for missions or gaining reputation with the local gangs. Now in order to get to Pyro, we're going to need jump points. Again, CitizenCon showed us the incredible work that has been going on for a while now on jump points, and how they create the spacescaping for them in particular. Jump points are going to be the main veins and arteries of the verse, how we go from one system to another, but no two will likely be the same. Some of them will be quite easy to navigate, relying on the spaceship's computer to do most of the work, whereas others will be quite death-defying roller coasters, where one wrong move could result in not just the death of you, but maybe everyone on board. Just like with server meshing and Pyro, jump points will come once they do, and they will be a glorious joyride for all. So next up for environments and locations, we have the colonialism outposts and homesteads. Now, during the CitizenCon demo, the Life in the Verse demo, we were shown many of the colonialism outposts that we will be able to visit, with this one in particular being the location or home of a trader. Now, of course, these were found in Pyro, and as previously mentioned, without server meshing, we don't get Pyro. However, it was mentioned that these locations are not only for Pyro, and they can come to Stanton. So for 2022, and hopefully before we see Pyro, regardless of whether, server meshing makes it or not, we may see some of these outposts of varying types scattered throughout the Stanton system on the various moons and planets. providing new locations like traders, characters and other mission givers, and other potentials for players to visit and interact with. And so far, according to the progress tracker, we will see these outposts range from abandoned, mining outposts, research, and many more. Now, one quick feature that is set to complete around September this year is building interiors, which are gameplay focused layouts for the various buildings in the landing zones. So basically expanding the landing zones to provide more points of interest and gameplay. Not much more to say about them. I think it has been said in the past that some of them could provide some FPS gameplay or points of contention, but we will see as they expand. Now, Derelict spaceships is the next one, which we won't be waiting for too long, as these are a 3.16 feature and will be coming in 3.16.1 sometime this month, I hope, maybe next month, definitely before 3.17. Now, I'm really excited for this, and seeing the clip of them on the 3.16 trailer has gotten me even more excited to check them out. We will be seeing new types of Derelict ships, new layouts. How many of them will there be? Will we find ourselves just stumbling upon them, and what treasures will we find inside, or puzzles or NPCs perhaps? We are yet to find out, but I am really eager to get them in the PU, and I'm so glad that we're not going to be waiting too long. So, a couple of really interesting features that I discovered recently while researching for this video are called destructible environments and the ecosystem enhancements. Now, destructible environments refers to individual pieces of foliage to be destroyed, which will be used to populate a destruction map to record data about ecosystem destruction, so our actions having permanent effects on the planet. It basically sounds as though if you gather all the resources from a particular location, then those resources are gone for good, and this creates that supply and demand for certain resources and value to location, which will all be tied into the economy. Now, we know for mineable resources they will be finite. Hopefully with plants they can just grow back, provided they haven't been completely eradicated, but we will see as that develops further. Now, the ecosystem enhancements refers to the realism of plants and animals in their aspects and behaviours to better immerse them into their respective environments. So CIG are not simply placing animals, creatures and plants on a planet and saying, there we go, job done. They are creating full ecosystems, embedding them into the environments, giving them a genuine place in the world, and tying everything with food chains and effects that are based on what is around them and where they live. Of course, getting creatures in the game first off will be a pretty massive step for the PU, but going to this level is going to be quite mind-blowing and fascinating when you just want to watch and see what these creatures get up to. Now, one little update that we got from CitizenCon was on rivers, so it's only right that for the environments we touch upon this. The likelihood of rivers and basins finally making their way into the PU on planets like Microtech and Hurston for this year is quite high. They are coming along really well, and I'm not expecting it'll be a long wait until we get to trace back the source of a river from a basin all the way back up the mountainside. Now, I also want to mention roads and lava. Roads we know were recently separated from rivers, as the team wanted to firstly establish rivers and basins and then use the same tech to help create roads. And the same kind of goes for lava, but obviously once roads are done. Each of these have a potential to create even more unique and interesting environments, and although I'm not expecting to see roads or lava this year, I do certainly think we will see rivers and basins, and I look forward to seeing exactly how CIG go about bringing them in. Now, one little feature that I noticed tucked away in the back of the progress tracker was snow displacement. Now, this is implementing tech required for impressions in the snow when a person or vehicle impacts or travels over a snowy terrain. This feature is not a huge game changer by any means, but it certainly will be satisfying to experience, and as always, just add a little extra drop of immersion. What really interests me about this, however, is whether or not the deformation of the snow will persist, or will it get sort of slowly cleaned up for memory purposes like footprints do. I'm assuming it is the latter, but it would be pretty cool if an imprint in the snow was left and persisted for long enough so that if you are chasing a bounty planetside or maybe tracking an animal like a boreal stalker on Microtech, you could find these fresh tracks left in the snow, allowing you to use them to track it down. That would be incredible, but again, we are talking about a game here, not real life. So the final deliverable that I want to talk about in terms of environments, which is on the progress tracker and has work completing in 2022, but very unlikely we're going to see it this year, but I need to mention it, is the Nix system. Now, I know the chances of getting one system this year is a huge deal, let alone two, but I just wanted to speak about it as the work on it from the EU Sandbox 1 team and Planet Content team finishes around June. Now, of course, there will still be a ton more work remaining from other teams, but once Pyro comes, we clearly won't be waiting too long for the third system, and I'm sure throughout this year, we will see more and more of Nix as it comes to fruition, checking out what it has to offer. So that is it for part 2. That is all the work that is going on for locations that we could see come to the burst this year. Whether there's anything hidden behind these unannounced features, probably, but we don't know ourselves yet. There is a lot of exciting work going on for the planets and moons of the verse, not to mention brand new systems, so this year is certainly going to be a good year for expansion, and if we do make it to a 4.0, then it will be a year to go down in Star Citizen history. But with that said, if you do enjoy my videos, please do consider subscribing, and if you want to hang out with myself, chatting all about Star Citizen and playing some 316, then do come and follow me over at twitch.tv/SuperMacBrother. You are all more than welcome. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does do the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you would like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, huge thank you to my patrons and channel members, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for the support, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.